What if I told you that some of the most beautiful, most commonly sold plants at your local garden center are quietly capable of killing a child, hospitalizing an adult, or permanently blinding someone who touches them without knowing what they are? Most people don't know this. We walk through nurseries, we pick up pretty flowering plants, we bring them home and put them in our gardens without ever asking a single question about what those plants actually do. And the truth is that some of the most popular ornamental plants in the world, plants that are sold everywhere, planted in front of schools and hospitals and family homes, contain some of the most toxic compounds ever identified in nature. Today, I'm going to show you 20 of them, not to scare you away from gardening, but because this is information that every gardener, every parent, every pet owner, and every person who spends time outdoors absolutely needs to know. Some of these plants will surprise you, some will shock you, and a few of them might already be growing in your yard right now. Stick around, because number 13 on this list is one of the most popular cottage garden flowers in the world, planted in millions of gardens across America and Europe. And every single part of it is so toxic that even the water in a vase containing its cut flowers has caused serious poisoning. And number 20 has been used as a murder weapon more than once in recorded history, looks completely harmless, and is still sold in garden centers today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we post new videos every week that give you the knowledge you need to make smarter, safer decisions for your home, your garden, and your family. So let's get into it. Here are 20 dangerous plants you should never grow in your garden, ranked from seriously concerning to absolutely deadly. Number 1, lantana, the colorful killer. Let's start with one of the most widely planted ornamental shrubs in warm climates worldwide. Lantana, Lantana camara, produces clusters of tiny flowers in brilliant combinations of red, orange, yellow, and pink that shift color as they age. It's sold everywhere. It's used in public parks, in front of restaurants, along highways, in home gardens. And it is significantly toxic, particularly to children and pets. The entire plant contains lantidine compounds, triterpene acids that cause liver damage and photosensitization, making the skin hypersensitive to sunlight and producing painful, burning rashes. The berries are the most dangerous part. They start green, ripen to black, and look exactly like small edible berries to a curious child. Ingestion of just a handful of unripe green lantana berries has caused serious poisoning in children, with symptoms including vomiting, weakness, labored breathing, and liver failure in severe cases. Livestock poisoning from lantana is well documented and has caused significant agricultural losses in areas where the plant grows invasively. The toxic effects in animals are severe and often fatal. In humans, the berries are responsible for a significant number of plant poisoning cases reported to poison control centers every year. Lantana was introduced to countries outside its native Central and South America as an ornamental plant and has since become one of the worst invasive weeds on the planet, listed among the world's 100 most problematic invasive species. It spreads aggressively, crowds out native plants, and poisons the livestock that try to eat it. Here's the critical warning. Lantana is still sold widely and casually at garden centers. The labels rarely mention toxicity. If you have young children or pets, this plant has no place in your garden. If you live in a warm climate where it can spread beyond your property, planting it creates risk for your entire neighborhood. Think of it as the plant that offers beauty with one hand and poison with the other, and never tells you which one it's handing you. Number 2, angel's trumpet. The beautiful hallucinogen, angel's trumpet, Brugmansia species, is one of the most dramatically beautiful plants you can grow. The large pendulous flowers hang downward in trumpet shapes up to 50 centimeters long, in white, yellow, peach, or pink, with a powerful, sweet fragrance that intensifies at night. It's spectacular. It's popular in warm climate gardens, and every single part of it contains tropane alkaloids, scopolamine, hyoscyamine, and atropine, at concentrations high enough to cause severe poisoning. The symptoms of angel's trumpet poisoning are terrifying. Extreme hallucinations that can last for days, complete disorientation, and loss of touch with reality. Rapid heart rate, dangerously elevated body temperature, inability to urinate, blurred vision, dry mouth, and in severe cases, seizures, coma, and death. Scopolamine, one of the main compounds in the plant, is the active ingredient in what is called devil's breath, a substance used in criminal drugging cases because it causes complete memory loss and total compliance. Angel's trumpet poisoning cases are reported regularly, including cases where people simply handled the plant without gloves and then touched their eyes or mouth. Children have been hospitalized after playing near the plant. Cases are documented of people drinking tea made from the leaves, believing it to be medicinal, and requiring emergency psychiatric care for days afterward. The plant is still widely sold. The flowers are still photographed constantly for their beauty. And most people who grow it have no idea what they're growing. If you have children, grandchildren, or pets with access to your garden, angel's trumpet is not worth the risk. The beauty is real. So is the danger. Think of it as the plant that named itself perfectly, because the only trumpet sound that should follow contact with it is an ambulance siren. Number 3, euphorbia, the blinding shrub. The euphorbia family is enormous. It includes thousands of species ranging from tiny ground-hugging plants to large tree-like shrubs. Many are popular ornamentals, many are sold as succulents, and virtually all of them share one dangerous characteristic: a thick white latex sap that causes severe irritation to skin, mucous membranes, and eyes. Euphorbia latex contains diterpene esters called phorbol esters that are intensely irritating to tissue. Contact with the skin causes burning, redness, and blistering. Contact with eyes causes severe pain, inflammation, and in documented cases, temporary or permanent vision loss. Cases of euphorbia sap causing serious eye damage have been reported in the medical literature consistently. One study documented multiple cases of severe eye injury from euphorbia sap, with some patients experiencing lasting visual impairment. The problem with euphorbia is that the sap is released whenever any part of the plant is broken, pruned, or damaged. Gardeners who prune euphorbia shrubs can get sap splashed on their skin or in their eyes without realizing the danger. Children who break stems of euphorbia plants in play can contaminate their hands and then touch their eyes. Some species are more toxic than others. Euphorbia tirucali, pencil cactus or milkbush, is particularly dangerous and is a popular houseplant sold at general retailers with no toxicity warnings. The sap of pencil cactus is considered a potential carcinogen and is severely corrosive to eye tissue. If you grow any euphorbia species, always wear gloves and eye protection when pruning or handling them. Never allow children to play with them. And consider whether a plant that requires this level of caution belongs in a garden used by a family. Think of it as the plant that hides a chemical weapon inside every stem, waiting for the moment you prune it without thinking. Number 4. Monkshood/wolfsbane. The assassin's plant. Monkshood, Aconitum napellus, is one of the most poisonous plants in the entire temperate world. It produces beautiful spikes of deep blue-purple hooded flowers that make it genuinely attractive as a garden plant. It's used in herbaceous borders. It's sold at garden centers. And it contains aconitine, one of the most toxic, naturally occurring compounds known, with a lethal dose measured in micrograms. Aconitine works by binding to sodium channels in nerve and muscle cells, preventing them from closing, which leads to prolonged depolarization, essentially causing continuous electrical firing in the nerves and muscles. The result is numbness and tingling that begins immediately upon contact, followed by severe vomiting, cardiac arrhythmia, respiratory failure, and death. There is no specific antidote. The danger of monkshood is not just ingestion. The aconitine can be absorbed through intact skin, particularly if there are any small cuts or abrasions. Documented cases exist of gardeners becoming seriously ill from handling the plant while pruning without any ingestion. The root is the most toxic part and contains the highest concentrations, but all parts of the plant are dangerous. Cases of monkshood poisoning are rare but consistently appear in medical literature. Deliberate poisonings using monkshood have been documented in criminal cases. The plant has a long history as a poison used in assassination. Its common name, wolfsbane, comes from its historical use in poisoned bait to kill wolves. If you grow this plant, wear gloves every time you handle it and wash your hands thoroughly afterward. Never grow it where children have unsupervised access. Never place cut stems in a vase in a home with young children. Many gardeners and horticulturalists argue it simply should not be available for home garden sale without prominent warning labels. Think of it as the plant that was historically used to kill kings and still requires the same respect today. Number 5, giant hogweed, the plant that burns with sunlight. Giant hogweed, Heracleum mantegazzianum, looks impressive. It grows to over 4 meters tall, produces enormous white umbrella-shaped flower clusters, and has a dramatic architectural presence that makes it visually striking. It was actually introduced to Europe and North America in the 19th century, specifically as an ornamental curiosity. That decision has been causing serious injuries ever since. Giant hogweed contains furanocoumarins, compounds that cause phototoxic reactions when they contact skin and are then exposed to sunlight. When the sap touches your skin and you go into sunlight, a chemical reaction causes severe deep burns that are indistinguishable from third-degree thermal burns. The burns are painful, slow to heal, can scar permanently, and if the sap contacts eyes, can cause permanent blindness. The danger is insidious. The plant produces enormous quantities of sap, and breaking any part of it releases that sap. Simply brushing against a broken stem in sunlight is enough to cause a serious reaction. Children who use the hollow stems as blowpipes or telescopes receive sap directly around their mouths and eyes, and the resulting burns have required hospitalization and plastic surgery. Giant hogweed has spread widely in the northeastern United States, Canada, and across Europe. It grows along roadsides, riverbanks, and in disturbed ground. If you see it, do not touch it. Report it to your local invasive species authority. It must be removed with full protective equipment, gloves, eye protection, and skin-covering clothing, and ideally handled by professionals. This is a plant that should never have been introduced to gardens and should never be deliberately planted. Think of it as the plant that weaponized sunlight against the people who planted it and has been spreading that weapon across every landscape it touches ever since. Number 6. Water. Hemlock, the most violently toxic plant in North America. Water hemlock, Cicuta species, holds the grim distinction of being considered the most violently toxic plant native to North America. It grows in wet areas, along stream banks and ditches, producing white umbrella-shaped flower clusters that look almost identical to edible plants like wild parsnip and water parsley. This resemblance to edible species has caused fatal, mistaken identity poisonings repeatedly throughout history. The root contains cicutoxin, a compound that causes violent, repeated grand mal seizures within minutes of ingestion. There is no antidote. The seizures are so severe that documented cases describe broken bones from the convulsions alone. Even small amounts of the root, as little as a few grams, have caused death in adults. The entire plant is toxic, but the root is most dangerous, and it has been mistaken for edible roots including parsnip, water chestnut, and wild carrot. Water hemlock poisoning typically begins with nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain, rapidly progressing to violent seizures that can persist until death or until the toxin is metabolized. Medical treatment is supportive only. There is nothing that specifically counteracts cicutoxin. This plant is not sold in garden centers, but it grows wild across North America and is encountered by foragers, hikers, and children playing near water. The critical message is this: never eat any wild plant with umbrella-shaped white flower clusters unless you are absolutely certain of its identification. The edible members of this plant family, carrots, parsnips, dill, fennel, have several extremely toxic lookalikes, and water hemlock is the most dangerous of all. Think of it as nature's most effective mimicry, a death sentence wearing the costume of dinner. Number 7. Castor bean, the source of ricin. Castor bean, Ricinus communis, is a dramatically beautiful plant. In warm climates, it grows to tree size with enormous star-shaped leaves in deep burgundy or green and distinctive spiny seed pods. It's planted as a statement, ornamental in tropical and subtropical gardens. Its seeds produce castor oil, a useful, genuinely beneficial oil used medicinally and industrially. And those same seeds contain ricin, one of the most toxic naturally occurring substances ever identified. Ricin is classified as a potential bioterrorism agent by the CDC. It works by entering cells and preventing protein synthesis, essentially stopping cells from functioning and causing them to die. There is no antidote. A dose of ricin equivalent to a few grains of table salt can kill an adult. The seeds themselves are the dangerous part. Each seed contains enough ricin to potentially kill a child. Ingestion of as few as 3 to 5 seeds has caused fatal ricin poisoning in children. Castor bean poisoning cases are documented annually from accidental seed ingestion. The seeds have an attractive, mottled appearance that can appeal to children. In one documented murder case, Ricin extracted from castor beans was injected via umbrella tip into a Bulgarian dissident in London, the notorious Georgy Markov assassination. If you choose to grow castor bean for its dramatic foliage, remove all seed pods before they mature and never allow them to develop fully in any garden accessed by children. Better still, choose an alternative dramatic foliage plant that doesn't produce seeds capable of producing biological weapons. Think of it as the ornamental plant that happens to manufacture one of the deadliest substances known to humanity and treats the whole situation as entirely your problem to manage. Number 8, deadly nightshade, beautiful and lethal. Deadly nightshade, Atropa belladonna, has been feared, respected, and deliberately used for thousands of years. The name belladonna, beautiful woman in Italian, comes from its historical use by women who dropped the plant's juice in their eyes to dilate the pupils, which was considered attractive. The genus name Atropa comes from Atropos, one of the 3 fates in Greek mythology, the one who cuts the thread of life. The plant contains atropine, scopolamine, and hyoscyamine, the same tropane alkaloids as angel's trumpet, but in even higher concentrations in the berries. The berries are sweet-tasting and attractive, resembling cherries or blueberries. This is what makes deadly nightshade particularly dangerous for children. A child who finds and eats what appear to be sweet, dark berries may ingest a lethal dose before any adult is aware. The lethal dose for adults is relatively higher than for children. 10 to 20 berries may be fatal for an adult, while 2 to 5 can kill a small child. Symptoms progress from dry mouth and skin, dilated pupils, rapid heart rate, and hallucinations to seizures, respiratory failure, and death. Atropine is used medically in carefully controlled doses, but the margin between therapeutic and toxic dose is extremely narrow. Deadly nightshade grows wild across Europe and Western Asia and is occasionally found in North America as an introduced plant, particularly in disturbed ground. It should never be deliberately planted where children have access. If you find it growing wild on your property, remove it carefully with gloves, bag all parts, including berries, and dispose of them in sealed bags. Think of it as the plant that named itself accurately at a time when most plants didn't, and still deserves every bit of the warning its name carries. Number 9, Datura, the devil's weed. Datura stramonium and related species, also called Jimson weed, thorn apple, and devil's trumpet, is the close relative of angel's trumpet that grows as a common weed rather than an ornamental shrub. It produces large upward-facing white or purple trumpet flowers and distinctive spiny seed pods, and it contains the same terrifying chemical profile as Brugmansia, high concentrations of scopolamine, hyoscyamine, and atropine. Datura poisoning is documented with disturbing regularity. The plant has been used in traditional ceremonies in some cultures for its hallucinogenic properties, but the gap between a hallucinogenic dose and a fatal dose is dangerously narrow. Teenagers who experiment with Datura extracts or teas for recreational purposes have died. Adults who use it have required prolonged psychiatric hospitalization. The hallucinations caused by Datura are described as completely indistinguishable from reality. Not pleasant visions, but full delusional psychosis, often lasting days. The seeds are particularly dangerous because they are enclosed in the attractive spiny pods that children sometimes play with, and the seeds contain the highest alkaloid concentrations. The entire plant, leaves, flowers, seeds, roots, is toxic. Datura grows as a weed in disturbed ground, roadsides, and abandoned lots across much of North America and Europe. Some gardeners deliberately plant ornamental Datura varieties for their flowers. This should be done only with full awareness of the toxicity, kept completely away from any access by children or pets, and with seed pods removed before they mature. Think of it as the weed that grows where civilization breaks down and produces a substance that breaks down the mind, a warning from the landscape itself. Number 10. Lily of the Valley, the sweet poison. Lily of the Valley, Convallaria majalis, is one of the most beloved spring flowers in the world. The tiny white bell-shaped flowers hanging on arching stems are exquisite. The fragrance is extraordinary. It's used in bridal bouquets, in gardens worldwide, in perfumery, and it is significantly cardiac toxic. The plant contains cardiac glycosides, compounds that affect the electrical conduction system of the heart. The same class of compounds found in digitalis, the pharmaceutical heart medication derived from foxglove. In lily of the valley, these compounds are called convalitoxin and convalicide, and they are present throughout the entire plant, including the red berries that form in summer. Ingestion causes nausea and vomiting initially, followed by cardiac arrhythmia, irregular heartbeat, that can progress to heart block and cardiac arrest. Particularly dangerous cases have involved people drinking the water from a vase containing lily of the valley cut flowers, which becomes contaminated with the glycosides. Children have been hospitalized after eating the attractive red berries. The berries look appealing, and their toxicity is widely unknown. Lily of the Valley is not a plant to avoid entirely. It's too beautiful and too beloved for that. But it should never be grown where small children have access. Berries should be removed before they form in any garden used by families, and cut flower vase water should never be accessible to children or pets. Think of it as the most romantic poison in the garden. Beautiful, fragrant, and quietly ready to stop your heart if you underestimate it. Now, if you're finding this genuinely important, if you're realizing that there are plants in gardens and nurseries right now that most people don't know are dangerous, please hit that like button. This is the kind of information that can actually prevent harm, and sharing it matters. Subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that bell. Let's keep going, because the next 10 are even more surprising. Number 11. Foxglove, the heart medicine that kills. Foxglove, Digitalis purpurea, is one of the most famous plants in the history of medicine. The cardiac glycosides extracted from its leaves became the basis for digoxin and digitalis, pharmaceutical drugs still used today to treat heart failure and arrhythmia. The plant quite literally gave modern cardiology some of its most important tools, and it is also seriously toxic. The same compounds that make foxglove medicinally valuable make it dangerous without precise dosing. All parts of the plant, leaves, flowers, seeds, and roots, contain cardiac glycosides. Ingestion causes nausea, vomiting, visual disturbances, a characteristic yellow-green tinted vision, and cardiac arrhythmia. Severe poisoning causes fatal heart rhythm disturbances. The danger in gardens is real and documented. Foxglove leaves resemble the leaves of comfrey, which is used medicinally, and cases of mistaken identity poisoning have occurred. The flowers are handled by gardeners without concern because foxglove is a classic, beloved cottage garden plant with a reputation that doesn't include danger. Children who spend time in cottage gardens encounter it regularly without any warning. Foxglove should be grown with awareness and appropriate caution, particularly ensuring that young children cannot eat the leaves or flowers, and that anyone who uses comfrey in the garden can clearly distinguish between the two plants. In a garden without young children or foraging plants nearby, foxglove is a magnificent plant with extraordinary history. With young children present, seriously reconsider its placement. Think of it as the plant that gave medicine one of its most powerful tools and simultaneously reminds us that the line between medicine and poison is always just a matter of dose. Number 12. Rhododendron and azalea, the toxic beauty. Rhododendrons and azaleas. Rhododendron species are among the most popular flowering shrubs in the world. They are planted in gardens everywhere, used in public landscapes, chosen for their spectacular spring flower displays. And they are toxic throughout the entire plant. Leaves, flowers, stems, nectar, and even the honey produced by bees that feed on their flowers. The toxic compounds are called gray anotoxins, and they affect sodium channels in cell membranes in a manner that causes overstimulation of the nervous system and heart. Rhododendron poisoning, also called gray anotoxin poisoning or mad honey disease, causes salivation, vomiting, low blood pressure, slow and irregular heartbeat, and in severe cases, loss of consciousness and respiratory failure. Mad honey, produced by bees in areas of Turkey and parts of the Pacific Northwest, where rhododendron species are dominant, has caused documented mass poisoning events when consumed. The honey contains sufficient gray anotoxin to cause serious neurological and cardiac symptoms. Ancient historical sources describe the poisoning of Roman soldiers by mad honey during the Mithridatic Wars. Xenophon documented an episode where soldiers were incapacitated after consuming honey near rhododendron forests. The toxicity of rhododendrons and azaleas is particularly important for pet owners. These plants are among the top causes of serious plant poisoning in dogs and cats. A dog that chews rhododendron leaves can be in serious danger within hours. Rhododendrons can remain in gardens used by adults without significant concern, but pet owners should carefully consider their use. If your dog has unsupervised garden access, rhododendrons and azaleas represent a genuine risk. Think of it as the plant that managed to poison Roman armies and modern pets alike, and still gets planted cheerfully in front of every house on the street. Number 13, autumn crocus, the deadly imposter. And this is the one I teased at the beginning. Autumn crocus, Colchicum autumnale, is one of the most popular autumn flowering bulbs in gardens worldwide. It produces beautiful lilac pink flowers that emerge directly from the ground in autumn without any leaves, creating a magical effect. It's sold in billions of bulbs every year. It's planted in gardens everywhere, and every single part of it, bulb, leaves, flowers, seeds, contains colchicine, one of the most toxic compounds in the plant kingdom. Colchicine is used pharmaceutically in precisely controlled tiny doses for gout treatment, but the therapeutic window is extremely narrow. The toxic dose is not much higher than the therapeutic dose, which is why colchicine poisoning from pharmaceutical overdose is a medical emergency. In the garden, autumn crocus is dangerous for two reasons. First, the bulbs resemble wild garlic bulbs. and wild garlic is edible and actively foraged. Cases of fatal colchicine poisoning from mistaking autumn crocus bulbs for wild garlic bulbs have been documented in the medical literature. Second, the leaves that emerge in spring before the flowers look similar to wild garlic leaves. The same dangerous confusion in a different season. Symptoms of colchicine poisoning begin as digestive distress, severe vomiting and diarrhea, and progress to multi-organ failure over days. There is no antidote. Cases have been fatal even with full intensive care treatment. The water in a vase of cut autumn crocus flowers becomes contaminated with colchicine and has caused poisoning when accidentally consumed. This is a plant that demands serious respect and careful placement. If you forage wild garlic from your garden or surrounding land, do not grow autumn crocus anywhere near the same area. Think of it as the plant that offers autumn magic and asks only that you never, under any circumstances, confuse it for something edible. Number 14. Oleander, the roadside killer. Oleander, Nerium oleander, is one of the most widely planted ornamental shrubs in warm climates worldwide. It lines highways across the southern United States, the Mediterranean, and subtropical regions globally. It's planted in parks, around schools, in shopping center car parks, and it is profoundly toxic. One of the most toxic, commonly planted ornamentals in existence. Every part of oleander contains cardiac glycosides, oleandrin and neurine, that cause severe cardiac arrhythmia and can be fatal. Ingesting a single leaf has been reported to cause serious poisoning in children. Even the smoke from burning oleander prunings is toxic and has caused respiratory poisoning in people standing downwind. Honey produced by bees in areas with heavy oleander planting can contain toxic compounds. Oleander poisoning cases are reported regularly from Mediterranean countries, from the southern United States, and from regions where the plant is planted in public spaces without adequate warning. Children pick the flowers. Gardeners burn the prunings. People use the sticks for barbecue skewers, a documented cause of oleander poisoning. Livestock deaths from oleander are reported every year in areas where the plant has been dumped in pastures. Despite its widespread planting, oleander toxicity is dramatically undercommunicated. Most people who live surrounded by oleander hedges have no idea they're living next to a plant that can kill someone who eats a single leaf. This information gap is dangerous. If you grow oleander, ensure that everyone in your household knows it is toxic and never to put any part of it near their mouth. Never burn prunings. Never use stems for cooking. Think of it as the beautiful shrub that lines every highway in the South without a single warning sign. And that's exactly the problem. Number 15. White snakeroot, the milk sickness plant. White snakeroot, Ageratina altissima, is a modest-looking plant. It produces small clusters of white flowers on branching stems, grows in woodland edges and disturbed ground across eastern North America, and was largely unknown outside botanical circles until relatively recently. But this plant has one of the most historically devastating toxic legacies of any plant in North America. White snakeroot contains trematol, a compound that is transferred into the milk and meat of livestock that graze on it. Humans who consume that contaminated milk or meat develop a disease called milk sickness. Weakness, vomiting, severe abdominal pain, and in many cases, death. Milk sickness killed thousands of European settlers in the Midwest and Appalachia throughout the 18th and early 19th centuries. Abraham Lincoln's mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, died of milk sickness in 1818 when Abraham was 9 years old. The cause of milk sickness was a mystery for decades because the toxin passes through the animal without obviously sickening it. Native American healers understood the connection between white snake root and the disease, but this knowledge was not accepted by European settlers until physician Anna Pierce Hobbs Bixby confirmed the botanical cause in the 1830s. Today, milk sickness is essentially eliminated because commercial dairy herds are not grazed in areas with white snake root. But the plant still grows widely. Homesteaders and small-scale farmers who allow livestock to graze in woodland edges where white snake root grows face genuine risk, and the plant remains toxic to humans who consume enough of it directly. Think of it as the plant that killed a president's mother, reshaped a nation's history, and still grows quietly in woodland gardens, largely unknown, largely unlabeled, and still entirely capable of doing exactly what it has always done. Number 16. Wisteria, the beautiful parasite. Wisteria species, is one of the most spectacular flowering vines in the world. The cascading purple flower clusters are extraordinary. Mature wisteria plants covering old stone buildings and archways are some of the most photographed garden scenes in existence. And the seeds and seed pods of wisteria are toxic, particularly to children. Wisteria seeds contain lectins and wistron glycoside, compounds that cause vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain when ingested. The seed pods hang on the vine after flowering and are attractive to children who may play with them. Several seeds can cause significant poisoning in a small child. Beyond its toxicity, wisteria has another characteristic that makes it genuinely dangerous for gardens. It is one of the most aggressively destructive plants in existence. Mature wisteria develops woody stems that become extraordinarily powerful over decades. Documented cases exist of wisteria penetrating and destroying building foundations, breaking through walls, lifting roof tiles, and collapsing wooden structures under its weight. The plant has been growing on some structures in Japan for over a century, and the trunks have reached the size of small trees. Wisteria can kill trees by enveloping them and cutting off light. It spreads vegetatively and by seed. In areas outside its native range, it has become a significant invasive problem. Planting wisteria requires a serious commitment to continuous management. Left unchecked, it will dismantle whatever it grows on. The seed toxicity combined with the structural destruction potential makes wisteria a plant that requires full awareness before planting. Beautiful? Yes. Worth it? Only if you understand what you're committing to. Think of it as the plant that will give you the most beautiful garden photographs you've ever taken while quietly dismantling your house from the outside. Number 17. Eupatorium/Joe Pye weed lookalikes. The dangerous confusion. This entry is about a dangerous identification problem rather than a single species. The Eupatorium family, which includes Joe Pye weed, boneset, and other native North American wildflowers, includes perfectly safe, even medicinally valuable plants. But it also includes white snake root, which we've already covered, and it closely resembles several other toxic plants, including water hemlock. The danger here is for foragers and wildflower gardeners who collect or grow plants from this family. without absolute certainty of identification. Umbrella-shaped white flower clusters and opposite or whorled leaves appear across multiple related and unrelated plant families. The visual similarities between edible and safe plants and potentially fatal ones in these plant groups require careful, expert-level identification. The practical message for gardeners is clear. Never harvest or consume any plant from wild or garden settings unless you are completely certain of its identity through multiple identification points, not just visual resemblance. Use multiple field guides. Confirm with experts. Understand that many toxic plants have specifically evolved to resemble harmless or edible species. If you grow native wildflowers or forage in your garden, invest in proper botanical education before eating anything you haven't grown from labeled seed. The consequences of a single identification error in this plant family can be fatal. Think of it as the reminder that nature doesn't label its poisons, and the responsibility for knowing the difference is entirely yours. Number 18. Laburnum, the golden rain of poison. Laburnum. Laburnum anagyroides is called golden rain for its spectacular hanging clusters of bright yellow flowers that appear in late spring. It's a popular tree in European and North American gardens. It's planted along streets and in parks, and every single part of it, bark, leaves, flowers, and particularly the seeds, contains cytisine, an alkaloid that causes severe toxicity and has caused multiple fatalities, primarily in children. Cytisine stimulates and then blocks nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, causing an initial stimulating effect followed by paralysis of neuromuscular function. Symptoms of laburnum poisoning include intense vomiting, frothing at the mouth, convulsions, and in severe cases, respiratory paralysis and death. The seeds are the most dangerous. They are enclosed in pods that children may open and eat, and as few as 3 seeds have caused serious poisoning in young children. Laburnum poisoning in children was historically one of the more common serious plant poisoning events in the United Kingdom, where the tree was extremely widely planted. Medical literature from the early to mid-20th century documents numerous pediatric cases. Awareness campaigns have reduced cases, but laburnum continues to be planted without consistent warnings. If you plant laburnum, seed pods must be removed as soon as they form. The tree should not be planted in gardens used by young children. In public spaces where children play, laburnum is genuinely inappropriate without specific safety measures. Think of it as the golden shower of spring flowers that carries a dark secret in every seed pod hanging from its branches. Number 19. Privet, the most underestimated hedge. Privet ligustrum species is one of the most commonly used hedging plants in the world. Millions of gardens are bounded by privet hedges. It's inexpensive, fast-growing, dense, and easy to maintain. And it is toxic in a way that most people have no idea about. The berries, leaves, and bark of privet contain ligustrin and other glycosides that are toxic to humans, pets, and livestock. The berries are blue-black, moderately attractive, and produced in clusters that can appeal to children. Ingestion causes gastrointestinal symptoms, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain, and in larger quantities can cause more serious effects, including cardiovascular problems. Privet is one of the most significant causes of plant poisoning in horses, causing severe gastrointestinal distress and potentially fatal colic. Dogs and cats that access privet berries or chew the leaves face genuine toxic risk. Cases of human poisoning, primarily in children, are reported regularly. Beyond its direct toxicity, privet is strongly allergenic. The pollen produced by privet flowers in summer is among the more allergenic tree pollens and is a significant trigger for hay fever, asthma, and allergic respiratory conditions in people living near flowering privet hedges. Many people with summer hay fever are reacting in part to privet without ever knowing the source. The ubiquity of privet makes this information feel almost unbelievable. How can the most common hedge in neighborhood gardens be toxic? But common doesn't mean safe. Think of it as the hedge that surrounds millions of gardens with quiet, consistent toxicity that nobody mentioned when you planted it. Number 20. Yew, the ancient death tree. And here we are at number 20. The one I saved for last. The one with more history as a poison than almost any plant on Earth. The one that is still planted in gardens, churchyards, and public spaces across Britain and Europe with a casual disregard for what it actually is. Yew, Taxus baccata and related species, is one of the longest-lived trees on Earth. Ancient yews in British churchyards are thousands of years old. The tree has been associated with death, immortality, and the boundary between the living and the dead across European cultures for millennia, and it earned every single one of those associations. All parts of yew are toxic except the red flesh of the berry, and even that contains a toxic seed inside that must not be chewed. The leaves, bark, and seeds contain taxine alkaloids that directly inhibit cardiac function by blocking calcium and sodium channels in heart muscle cells. The result is rapid, profound cardiac depression that can cause sudden heart failure. The taxine alkaloids act quickly. Absorption is rapid. Symptoms can begin within hours, and death can occur before any medical intervention is possible. Yew is considered one of the most rapidly fatal plant poisons known. A fatal dose of leaves for an adult is estimated at around 50 grams, a small handful. Horses, cattle, and livestock have died within hours of accessing yew leaves. Cases of deliberate yew poisoning have been documented in criminal history. The speed of yew poisoning is what makes it particularly dangerous. There may not be time for effective medical intervention. The taxanes derived from yew, paclitaxel, known as Taxol, became one of the most important chemotherapy drugs in cancer treatment, particularly for breast and ovarian cancer. The tree that has been used for millennia as a symbol of death and as a poison gave medicine one of its most powerful weapons against cancer. This is one of the most extraordinary ironies in the entire history of medicine. Yew is still planted extensively in British and European gardens, hedges, and churchyards. Its dense, dark, evergreen foliage makes beautiful, formal hedges. The red berries are attractive to children. The clippings that fall during pruning retain their toxicity for days and can be eaten by pets and livestock. If you have yew in your garden and you have dogs, horses, or livestock, this is a situation that requires immediate assessment. If you have young children who play in your garden, ensure they understand never to eat the berries. And if you are considering planting a formal evergreen hedge, understand exactly what you are choosing. Think of it as the tree that has been watching over churchyards for 1,000 years, because it understood something about the boundary between life and death long before anyone thought to ask it. If you made it all the way through this video, You now have information that most gardeners, most parents, and most pet owners simply don't have. You know which plants carry real risk. You know what to watch for. And you know that beautiful doesn't mean safe. In fact, some of the most beautiful plants in the world are carrying the most dangerous chemistry in nature. This isn't about fear. It's about knowledge. The same knowledge that lets you enjoy your garden, let your children play safely in it, and make informed decisions about what you plant. So here's what I want you to do. Share this video. Seriously. If you know a parent with young children, a pet owner, a gardener who doesn't know this information, send it to them. It could genuinely matter. And hit that like button so this video reaches more people who need it. Drop a comment below and tell me which plant on this list surprised you the most. Are you team, I had no idea about lily of the valley? Team, I'm removing my oleander this weekend? Or team, I've had you in my garden for 20 years and I'm reconsidering everything? I read every comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Every week, we cover the things about plants and nature that most people genuinely don't know. And some of it, like this video, could actually keep someone safe. I'll see you in the next one.